The New York Jets are plotting something huge for the team going forwards, and this is exactly what fans have wanted for a very long time, is now the Jets are building things the right way, but it comes with a new turn as well that we have to go over, and there's a lot to talk about with the Jets right now. Obviously, the team just blew everything up to get as much draft capital as possible and to try to continue tanking for the best possible draft picks so they can land their quarterback of the future. We know who they want. We know what they want to do, but there is a caveat now as well, and we are going to talk about all this, guys. But real quick, if you're part of that 71% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss a single New York Jets update. We have a lot of great videos coming out every single day on the Jets that you don't want to miss out on. We're having so much fun right now talking about the Jets, and there's a lot of stuff happening with this team right now. But let's jump right in, guys. There is, again, a lot to discuss on the Jets as we speak, because Darren Mougey's master plan was made very clear. If you can get as much trade value as possible out of any star player, he will at the very least consider trading them. And based off what happened with both Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, he is not afraid to pull the trigger and make massive changes to this Jets team for as much draft capital as possible so he can continue to try to build a team through the draft like he has said multiple times that he wants to do. Now, obviously, that also he has to be right on draft picks, and for the most part, he's been pretty good at it. I mean, the Armand Bembo pick has been phenomenal. Mason Taylor looks great and is the tight end of the future for this team, and honestly, Azariah Thomas was an absolute steal for the Jets as well. The team looks good right now. Their plans have been working, but now we have seen things take a next step, step into the next level, as Jets GM Darren Mougey and senior football advisor Rick Spielman are among a heavy contingent from the Jets in attendance at the Indiana-Penn State game, with Fernando Mendoza being the notable name in that matchup, as Jordan Reed revealed. Now, Bleacher Report said on Mendoza, he's really good at layering passes. He shows touch accuracy. He's got like a compact, snappy release. He's also a little bit more Jared Goff in terms of arm talent, and his mechanics are so clean that there's not a lot of wasted motion. He's not a runner, but he does have a lot of talent throughout the field. Now, that's one big thing to look at here. Here's the thing about Mendoza. As great as he is not a runner. He's there to throw the ball out of the pocket. That's where he's at his best. The Jets have been building up a young offensive line for some time now. Now, not everyone's going to stick around. Mainly AVT is likely gone after this season. However, the Jets still have Membo. They have right now the mix of Joe Tippmann and Josh Myers, both of whom can play center or a guard spot as well. On top of that, they have Olu Fashanu, who's had a down year, but has shown a whole lot of potential at the NFL level, especially last season. And on top of that, they do have a veteran guard in John Simpson. The Jets' offensive line is nowhere as bad as it used to be, and a lot of them are still getting better and better, like Fashanu, like Membo, like their tackle is the most important position on the line. And then on top of still having Tippmann around for a bit is going to be huge as well. They will focus on adding more offensive line talent as well for their young quarterback, because it's incredibly important that your offensive line has, or that your young quarterback has a good offensive line, or it can stunt their growth, like what we saw with Sam Darnold. So, with that in mind, the Jets have to be very careful with this. Mendoza's who they want, but he doesn't run the ball. Aaron Glenn wants a dual threat quarterback, someone who can throw the ball, but also has no problem legging it out, escaping the pocket, or having drawn up designed run plays for this Jets football team that is a run-first team. It's one of the reasons why they brought in Justin Fields. They're not run-first because they brought in Justin Fields. They brought in Justin Fields because they're run-first. So with Mendoza not being run-first, it is going to be interesting to see how the Jets do feel about Mendoza, and that's definitely one of the big things that they're looking at with Mendoza going forwards. Now, he is a very talented quarterback between both California and Indiana, transferred over to Indiana and is having his best season to date, where he's a Heisman favorite and also looks to be the first overall pick in this NFL draft. Now, he won't be if a team does not need a quarterback. He's not so good that a team's going to uproot their QB, but they might trade down. He's good enough for that. And, I mean, he is the front runner. He's the first quarterback off the board for sure as of right now, leading the Big Ten in touchdown passes thrown with only 5 interceptions as well. He's playing good football. Throughout the season thus far, has 2,342 yards. Last season in one less game, but way more attempts thrown. He did just hit the 3,000 mark, but his completion percentage is up. His touchdown percentage is up. His interception percentage is down. His average yards per attempt is through the roof right now. So we are seeing Fernando Mendoza become a more efficient player and really grow into his own. He's got good size. He's 6'5", has the right build of a quarterback as well, which is the fear with some of these other quarterbacks in this draft class. And also, he's not a runner, but he's not never going to run the ball. He did have 87 attempts last year at Cal, and this year he has 56 attempts for 240 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. So no, he's not a runner, especially at the NFL level, but he is someone who, in theory, is not going to be completely useless when having to escape the pocket, which is super important here. Now, right now, because the Jets wanted to go out and win a game, which has thrown a wrench into their plans, Ty Simpson is expected to go to the Jets here, as Mendoza is projected to be second overall by Tankathon right now, with Ruben Bain Jr. being at the top of the board. Obviously, the Titans did draft Cam Ward. They're not going to give up on him in just a year, so they would take Bain, who is an excellent edge rusher and does make sense as the first overall pick talent-wise, if you ask me. Now, Mendoza, he would, in this situation, go to the Saints. The Saints have a worse record than the Jets now, and instead of that game being, the Jets-Saints game being completely for that first overall spot, what we're now seeing is the Saints being more control because the Jets have now added another win. Adding another win against the Cleveland Browns also made it so that the Jets would fall behind the Browns and the Giants as well now, which does create a little bit more fear as well on top of that in regards to everything here. Now, Ty Simpson finally did get his first year to start after a redshirt freshman year and then 2 years on the bench for Alabama, now being their starting quarterback. He does have the most completions and touchdowns thrown in the SEC with only 1 interception. So he's playing really, really good football, averaging 273 yards per game. His average yards per attempt are good at a 9.58. He looks really, really good right now. The completion percentage could be a bit higher, but at the end of the day, it's not something that's so low you're really going to get too nervous about. Simpson does not have the same body metrics that Fernando Mendoza does, but he is an interesting piece here. Like Mendoza, not exactly going to leave the pocket a bunch. I mean, for a guy, he has 55 attempts with 87 yards, so he's pretty damn close to Fernando Mendoza here, who does have 56, except, you know, a lot more yards. I don't really love Ty Simpson as a prospect, if you're kind of catching on with the way I've talked about him thus far. But he is having a good year at Alabama regardless, is in the toughest conference, and is playing good football nonetheless, and that has to be stated here. So, on top of everything, we do have to consider that. And also, ESPN did mention that in its latest poll, Indiana's Fernando Mendoza was the top vote getter with 13 votes, putting him ahead of Oregon's Dante Moore, and Alabama's Ty Simpson is the first quarterback to come off the board in the draft in 2026. None of those quarterbacks received a vote in the first poll, and all of eligibility remaining. The other 3 quarterbacks receiving votes were John Mateer, Cincinnati's Brenton Sorsby, and South Carolina's Lenoris Sellers. Only Sellers and Mateer had votes in the first poll. Sellers looks like he'll probably stick around for another year now, though also some of the Jets will totally want to look at as well because of his ability to run with the football as well, but it does feel like Sellers will take his next year of eligibility and stick around at South Carolina just so he can continue to hone his game and become a higher pick, so more guaranteed money when he ends up coming out. Now, on top of that, we also did see an anonymous NFL scout say it's not a stellar class. If you add the maybes who have eligibility and could leave school now, then it gets interesting. The top is better than last year's class, though, for sure, with Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders headlining. Obviously, Sanders slipped to the 5th round, so that's also something to be aware of. And also, as ESPN talked about Mendoza transferred from Cal and has taken a leap under Coach Kirk Cignetti and the tutelage of offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan and quarterbacks coach Chandler Whitmer. His completion percentage is a 72.3, up from the 68.7, and he has thrown 25 touchdowns, 9 more than last season at Cal. He's also rushed for 4 touchdowns and is averaging 9.5 yards per attempt, up from 7.8. What do scouts like? They start with the basics of him being 6'5" and 225 pounds. He idolizes Tom Brady, which is viewed as a strong North Star for a prospect. He has a wow throw. He has some wow throws and playmaking passer ability, one scout told ESPN. He can also anticipate post-snap, added another. He's decisive, and he sees everything well. He's got accuracy down the field and is very tough in the pocket. There was a play against Iowa where Mendoza hung in the pocket and got decked by a Hawkeyes linebacker while delivering a perfect ball to a receiver in tight coverage. So there's stuff there about Mendoza for sure. With all that in mind, it is interesting to see what the Jets are going to do here, because at the end of the day, guys, if we're being honest, I mean, don't get me wrong, Mendoza's an interesting prospect, and he's the one quarterback I actually do like in this draft class as a future franchise quarterback. But if Mougey doesn't like him, if they see stuff they don't like, who's to say the Jets don't hold off a year? Draft someone else, trade down for more possible picks if they don't like their situation at the top of the board. Or maybe they say, screw it. Maybe they say, you know what? Let's say the Jets do pick where they're projected right now at 5th overall. If Jordan Tyson slips in the draft because the Giants decide we have Malik Neighbors, we don't want down the line to have to pay 2 elite wide receivers. Maybe the Jets, who I understand of Garrett Wilson, and there's a similar situation there, but maybe the Jets go, all right, we need more receiving help. Let's draft Jordan Tyson, who feels like a can't-miss wide receiver right now. Maybe we draft some other offensive position, but it's probably a talent one. So it's either going to be quarterback or wide receiver. Outside of that, maybe the Jets look for a defensive back instead, or an edge rusher to add to that, and maybe say goodbye to Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald via trade. So there's other options as well that the Jets have. It doesn't necessarily have to be a quarterback, but quarterback is by far the biggest need on this team. So if they don't draft him, it's a question of what do you do with that quarterback spot for the next year while you try to effectively lose again so you can get Arch Manning or whoever else is going to come out in that quarterback year next year in the 2027 draft, which is heavily projected to be one of the strongest quarterback drafts in a long time. What do you guys want to see? Would you be fine with not drafting a quarterback at all? If it's not Mendoza, I don't want the Jets to just draft a quarterback just because, well, maybe he turns out and we need one. I don't love that plan. I know the Jets need a quarterback, and I don't want to lose for another year. I also don't want to swing and miss on a pick because we reached on a quarterback for no reason outside of the fact that, well, we need one, so maybe this one works. Like, and I know there's more that goes into it. I know they're not just like, I know it's not like when you're playing Madden and you read it for 2 seconds and you're like, it's a video game, it doesn't matter. Like, this is something that matters. This is something that Darren Mougey has to stake his job on in this next draft. He's not going to have endless availability. What he's done right now has been smart. He's really loaded up on picks, and if the Jets want to trade up for Mendoza, then go do that, but it's always going to be a risk. What do you guys want to see the Jets do in the draft? What do you guys want to see the Jets do? What if they keep winning games? I don't think they will. They've beaten the Bengals and the Browns, so I don't really think they're going to keep winning games. What if they do? That'll have an effect on things. What do you guys think is going to happen? What do you want to see happen? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. Go Jets.